Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner. It is Friday and it is the 9th of February, the day after where S&P just touched with a few cents the 5,000 level, as you can see, 5,040. But as we have seen here on the weekly chart, there is potential higher, and no RSI divergence or any extremes on the weekly RSI. It has cancelled the divergence there, so there is potential higher in coming weeks. However, on the daily, as we can see here, it's still, interestingly enough, struggling to break the upper falling trend line here on the RSI. So we could still see a little bit of a setback in the coming days, and let's see where it can come from. It can come from maybe an earnings surprise from some of the companies or some that has been really been moving lately, and or just some profit taking in the market. Nasdaq 100, same picture really. RSI still in this range here, tight range with a falling trend. We were basically unchanged yesterday, but also on the medium term, as you can see, it's starting to cancelling its divergence. So there is further potential also for Nasdaq on the medium term here, going into the rest of Q1. On the European side, we have EUROSTOXX 50. Moved nicely higher yesterday, 47.24, which is 1618 of the dash correction here, and there's potential higher. RSI is still divergence, but again, the trend is your friend, and as long as we are above the 4600, I'm not too worried. DAX hovering around the 17,000 level, spiked above yesterday. It seems like it can't really get its act together and move higher towards 16,500. So there's still something holding it back really. So still in a tight range. So let's see if it can take out the 17,050. Well, then maybe it can get its mojo together. AX Amsterdam, and I published a more detailed analysis yesterday how far we can go, and there are a lot of lines here on the chart. So first of all, we have reached more than 200% of this correction here. So I have added a Fibonacci extension, illustrated also by these two vertical arrows, that we could potentially, if we say, well, this move here, it should be equal to this upwards move here back in October to December, well, then we are looking at 153 level, and we are very close to it, and we're very close to 2.618 projection of this correction here. But we are in a little bit of extreme, but as you can see, there's no divergence. It actually cancelled its divergence, so there is further potential. That's not to say that we won't see corrections. I'm quite sure eventually we will see a bit of a correction, but we are in an uptrend, and it is still it looks quite strong, the Amsterdam market. Whereas the Belgium market rejected this morning once again at the upper falling trend line, so keep an eye on a break of that. We are above the cloud, but we are not above the RSI 60, so we need a break above both for further upside potential to 37.42 and higher. CAC did close yesterday above 7,653, struggling a little bit to follow through. We are in our uptrend, but keep an eye on this gap here, and keep an eye on 7,553. Swiss market, as we mentioned earlier, still quite weak. Lower yesterday, and seems it's selling off today. 11,057 will be key support. Not much movement in euro dollar. I still think we will see it sliding a little bit lower going into next week. or early next week. We don't know what's happening today, but at the moment it's still below 100 moving hours, and key support here around 107.25. The sterling dollar, or cable as we used to call it, hovering around to 126.10. Also negative trend and negative sentiment, so bearish trend and negative sentiment, so to the heavy side. And finally, we got the dollar yen to close above 148.80, which we have been talking about. Then there's some resistance in 149.75. Look out for that one. I think it will be tested and possibly also broken. And if it does, well, then there's not really much resistance until the 2022 peak, just around 152. We are in a bullish sentiment. A little bit of a divergence building up, but it's not much. Euro yen dancing around the 161 resistance level and the 786 retracement around the same level. So that is key. It needs to close above there, and RSI needs to close back above 60 threshold. We are in a positive sentiment, but closing above 60 threshold will confirm uptrend, and then there's potential much higher towards 163, 164 level, with some resistance around 161.87. Also yen, also slowly ticking higher towards the 97.80s, around that level where we have some resistance. We are in, well, let's see, it's really undecisive, inconclusive, I would say. Can we get it back above 60 on the RSI? I'm quite confident we will break that resistance level. We are above the cloud, and there seems to be some positive move there. Sterling yen touching the resistance area here around 188.60, 189, and around the level, as you can see. We need a close above. We need a break. I think we will get it. I think we'll move higher. We have the RSI that did yesterday close back above 60. So we are confirming the positive sentiment. Moving on to Aussie dollar. Still can't really being sold off. They're still fighting it down here. We are in a negative trend, lower lows and lower highs. Will it actually really fulfill the potential of the shoulder head shoulder pattern? That is still a little bit up in the air. Dollar Swiss, 88.20, which we talked about. We have the 200 and 100 moving average coming down, providing some resistance also, or adding to the resistance level. But we are in an uptrend. We are in a bullish sentiment, a positive sentiment, and we are above the cloud. I feel confident we will move higher towards 88.20. But again, this is not an advice. We have the dollar index rejected around this 104.27. I know we did close above the other day, but it is really struggling also for upside momentum. But there is positive sentiment. We should see it move higher, possibly next week. Gold is quite boring, almost flatlining here the past few days, just above, staying above the cloud, lower part of the cloud. Positive sentiment, but as you can see, massive divergence. I really want to see it breaking out 2065 and 2000 for any real direction. So not much to say about that. Silver did form a bullish engulfing yesterday, quite interestingly, taking out the past couple of days lower levels. So maybe that was it, but still there is downside risk to 21.90, and it is not that convincing. And still overhead resistance around 23.5. So I think we will still be caught in that range. Copper yesterday went straight through the 372 support area, and there's not really much holding it now. We have the daily RSI below 40, so we are in a bearish sentiment or negative sentiment. Also here on the weekly, it starts to turning sour. Not much support until around 354, 350, around that level. So copper seems a little bit heavy, quite heavy at the moment. We have the 55 moving average dropping quite significantly, the 100 moving average dropping, still the 200 holding up a little bit. So quite heavy there on the copper. Oil here, WTI has bounced off the lower rising trend line back into the clouds, forming a kind of a bottom and reversal pattern, not the best one really, but still. There is room up to 79.77, but I'm not quite sure we'll get there as we have the 200 moving average and especially the 100 coming down here. So there is a little bit of a overhead resistance, or actually quite a bit, that most likely will dampen the upside momentum. But if we can get the RSI back above 60, then well, maybe we could get a push above that resistance. So that's some levels to look out for. I have adjusted the lower rising trend line here a little bit because we had it right there. It did move below. We can also put it there. So it's a little bit it's a little bit, how you say, unclear. However, it is acting on more or less also like WTI needs to get it back above 60 on the RSI, but we are looking at really strong resistance at 84.75. However, if we do close back above here and back above the cloud, well, then there is a potential higher. Finally, on the US 10-year yields, seems like we are slowly crawling higher towards the 420 resistance level. If we do get a daily close above, well, then we have confirmed a double bottom like pattern here, and that gives potential short-term potential up to around 438 is level around that. We have this little bit of a consolidation area here. We also have the cloud coming down. We have the 100 moving average, so there will be a little bit of resistance, and we still have the 55 declining. So it is not a sure thing, but it could have potential up to around that area right there, or especially also if we get the RSI back above 60. If we were just very quickly look at the future, it is currently, as we speak, trading below the support at 126. So maybe that's a little bit of early warning, but I would also like to see the RSI below 40 before I actually call it a bearish. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and a nice weekend when you get to there, and happy trading.